In this video, we're talking about the slowing housing market and whether or not prices have actually bottomed out. We're going to take a look at some very interesting information that just came out. I'm going to give you my thoughts along the way. We're going to talk about prices, and we're going to talk about a couple of things that you have to know and have to be keeping a close eye on, especially if you're looking at buying or selling in this market here today. What's up, everybody? My name is Cody Steck, your favorite Utah realtor. If you've been to the channel before, I want to thank you for your participation here on this journey. If you are a new viewer, then I want to say welcome to the channel. We talk about everything you need to know about Salt Lake City, including real estate market updates and what it's like to actually live here on a regular basis. So if you're looking at relocating from out of state, or you live here in the area and you want to buy or sell real estate, make sure to reach out to me, call, text, or email anytime. I absolutely love hearing from you guys, and I cannot wait to hear from you as well. With that said, let's go ahead and jump into this video. So for the sake of this video, we're taking a look at this article that just came out talking about the West's housing market bottoming out. Prices are down $90,000 from the peak in this Utah county. So jumping into this article, the median price of all home types sold in Salt Lake County, Utah's most populous county along the Wasatch Front, fell below the $500,000 mark in February, down to $494,500, which is a nearly 4% decrease from a year earlier, according to the Board of Realtors. So 4% decrease in 1 year is not that much. We actually saw prices increase between 15 and 30% over the last couple of years, depending on which year you're looking at, whether it's 2020, 2021, or 2022. We saw prices kind of all over the place. 2021 was by far the biggest increase, with prices going up almost 30% just in that 1 year. So to see a 4% decrease is not that substantial in the grand scheme of things. The median price of a single-family home in Salt Lake County fell to $560,000 in February, which is down $90,000 from its peak in May 2022, when the median home sold for $650,000. That's almost a 14% price decrease, and year over year, the median price of a Salt Lake County single-family home declined nearly 4.3% in February. So I want to take a look at this information. We're going to jump over to the statistics that I'm able to pull up here on my MLS system, and if you look at the search criteria right here, we've got this set up to basically replicate exactly what they're telling us in the article, right? We're looking at the state of Utah, of course. The county is Salt Lake, and the property type is single family only. So if we come down here, we're taking a look at this data right here towards the bottom of this chart, and we're going to look at February of 2023. This column right here is going to show you the actual sales price. So I'm showing a median sales price of $569,000. If we jump over here, they're saying that the price was $560,000. So we're off slightly. That could just be an accounting error, or maybe I don't know what it is, but we're pretty close there, right? We're at 569, and they were saying that if we jump back over here, 650, that was in May, which was the peak, right? So we're showing the same exact thing. May 2022, we show a median sales price of $650,000. So yes, prices are down. The interesting thing you have to look at here is what this does actually look like when you compare to other months, right? If you compare from the peak all the way to the bottom here in January, you're looking at a $535,000 median sales price in the month of January. So prices were actually even lower by a substantial amount, almost $30,000. Well, let's see, that's almost $35,000 from January to February, right? So going from the peak to that potential bottom in January of 535, that's actually a bigger drop than what they're talking about here in this article. So you kind of have to look at all of the data all at once. The other thing that I want to point out is that it also depends on which homes are actually selling. When you're looking at a median sales basis, you're going to have some homes that sell for much cheaper. You're going to have some homes that sell for much more expensive. The median is basically trying to find that middle range on where the majority of homes are selling, right? This is why it's typically better to use a median basis rather than an average, because if you have an average, you might have one home that sells at a very high amount, and that could actually skew the average quite a bit. So if we jump over here, I want to go back to our statistics here and take a look at this. If we go back to the number of home sales that are happening, let's just put in a list price of $1 million. That's going to be our minimum here, because what I think that we're going to see, I've actually not looked at this, but what I think we're going to see is that there's less home sales happening at these higher price ranges. So if you look at the month of February, we saw 53 home sales happen that were over $1 million. If we go back here to February 2022, we saw 54. So actually just one more. March is actually relatively the same, and March of this year is relatively the same. So we're actually on pace to be in the same bracket that we were in years past. We actually saw this number go up pretty substantially through the spring selling season, which I expect to happen again, but we'll have to actually watch and see what happens with these home sales that are happening. So you kind of have to take this into account. Of course, if there's more homes selling at a higher price point, that is naturally going to push up the median sales price just slightly, or if there's less homes selling at that higher price point, that could bring the median down as well. So it's not going to fluctuate as much as if you're using an average, but you are going to see some variation there. So that's why it's really important to kind of look at this information in its entirety. If you don't have access or you don't have the time to go through this information yourself, that's where it really comes into play, where you need to have somebody on your side, such as myself or your own individual real estate agent, who can view this information and really stays up to date on what's happening in the market, not only from a statistical standpoint, but also on a regular basis. For me and my team, we're working with dozens of different clients, buyers and sellers at any given time, and we have a pretty good feel on what's happening in the market based on what we're seeing. For instance, we're seeing a lot of homes at the lower price points still run into multiple offers. In fact, we submitted over 5 offers in the last month for a client who was looking at these lower price ranges, and we ran into multiple offers on every single one. We've had other buyers who are shopping in the $1 million plus range, and those buyers are having a lot more negotiation room. In fact, the last one that we did that was over $1 million, we were able to negotiate $100,000 off of the listing price. So depending on which price range you're looking at, you're going to have a different market that you're really jumping into. So you really have to have a feel on what's happening out there and work with somebody who's got your best interest in mind. Hopefully that's us. If it is, make sure to reach out to me. My information will be here on the screen again, and you can find it in the description box below. Let's continue on with the article here. So we're going to jump into this green section right here. Put that in perspective, however, of just how much home prices skyrocketed from March of 2020 to May 2022 during the height of the pandemic housing madness. In Salt Lake County, the median single-family home price jumped nearly 60%. This is absolutely crazy. In fact, they say in a good year, we should see appreciation of about 3% in the real estate market year over year, or at least if you look at a long enough time horizon, that's what you should see. So we will go from normally a 3% increase per year to a 60% increase in roughly 2 years. So that's pretty crazy to see how much that jumped up. So this asks the question, has the housing market bottomed yet? So we're not done with the price drops, but they are slowing. I think we'll have several more months of price drops year over year, but we could be getting close to the bottom. This is from Dave Anderton, who is the spokesman for the Salt Lake Board of Realtors. I think this is interesting information. I would somewhat have to agree. We'll have to see where interest rates go over the next couple of months. It's really going to be dependent on interest rates and the overall economy with what happens in price ranges. We're going to talk about this here in just a second, but there's a couple factors that are really boosting up Utah's home prices at this time. February also saw more sales activity than in January. Only 590 Salt Lake County homes sold in January, which was down 36% compared to 927 sales in January 2022. That marked the fewest number of homes sold in a single month since January 2011. So we saw home sales drop substantially. There's still a lot of demand and there's still a lot of resiliency with prices in this market. So even though home sales have fallen off a cliff and we saw the lowest that we have seen since January of 2011, we're actually in a position where home prices are still being buoyed up. Sellers are resistant to drop prices. Buyers are still willing to pay the prices that are out there today. And, honestly, if we look back at this information, if we go back here, get rid of this minimum price, and we're looking at single family home sales data, this is going to be something that's really interesting. Who knows? We may have hit the bottom here, seeing a low median sales price of $535,000 for the month of January. If you look at February and March, as well as April so far, the median sales price has actually climbed back up to roughly $570,000. And I think there's a good chance we could actually stay in that range for at least the next couple of months. Mortgage interest rates continue to hinder sales, says Rob Oakey, president of the Salt Lake Board of Realtors. However, we expect the 30-year mortgage rate will trend lower in the coming months as the spread between the 30-year mortgage and 10-year treasury returns to its historical average, which is around 170 basis points. If that happens, we could see rates around 5.5%. I think this is a little bit optimistic. I personally am thinking that rates are going to stay a little bit higher, probably in that 6 to 7% range. I think they'll fluctuate. Inflation is still very high. We're still seeing a lot of pressures on the economy here in the United States and across the entire world. And so I think that we're going to see interest rates still a little bit higher. I think it would be pretty optimistic to see that rates will come down to 5.5%, maybe even low 5% range. I just don't see that happening, at least at this time, until inflation really continues to cool off and we get back to a place where it's a much more stable environment. I don't think that we're going to see rates come down in the near future, right? He's basically saying, hey, over the next couple months, we could see it come down. I think it's going to be at least the end of the year. That's my personal opinion. Of course, everybody's got one. But yeah, you kind of got to take this and form your own opinion based on what you think is going to happen in the economy so you can make the best decision for your family. With that said, let's scroll down a little bit further. Anecdotally, real estate agents have said they are seeing multiple offers on lower priced homes. This this is what I talked about here just a minute ago, saying anything under $500,000 for a single family home many times is seeing multiple offers. If it's a good home in good condition and it's in an area that's going to see continued growth and it's at a price that is fair for that home in this market, there's still a good chance you're going to run into multiple offers on that particular home. I've seen it. I know that other agents are seeing it, and it's a real thing here in this market. A key factor likely continuing to sustain demand even amidst its affordability problems is Utah's persistent housing shortage. Despite a record home building year in 2021, Utah's statewide cumulative housing shortage is estimated to be 31,000 units. So this is a pretty big housing shortage that we're seeing out there. There's still a lot of demand for the housing units that we have here, and there's people that continue to move in every single day, and that's going to just continue to expand that gap that we're seeing between how many housing units are out there and what the demand for those units is. So with that being said, if you're thinking about making a move here, or you already live here and you want to buy or sell real estate, maybe invest in real estate, make sure to reach out to me, call, text, or email anytime. I absolutely love hearing from you guys. I've had people from all across the world and right here in my own backyard contact me about helping them with their real estate goals, and I would love to do the same for you. My information is here on the screen. Before you go, check out the information in the description box below. You can find info on our newsletter, you can subscribe to the channel, and you can find a lot more cool information about what it's like to live here in Utah. With that being said, thanks for watching, guys. We'll catch you in the next one.